Mark Rogers TV talking Clemson football. And now, as we sit here for the first time in 34 years, it's been just about a full day almost that we can sit here and say that the college football national champion resides in Clemson, South Carolina. We bring in Ryan Cantor from Shaking the Southland, who joins us on a regular basis. Ryan, we always appreciate the input, the contribution that you have, but this is going to be very, very special just because you're just back from Tampa. So you were there, you were in the midst of it, in the middle of it. It just had to be euphoria. If there's any way possible that you can describe what it felt like to be there and amongst Clemson fans just basking in the glow of what the entire program achieved.
Yeah, I'm sure it's incredible for any fan of any team when they're there and their team wins a national championship. I would imagine, less than a tenth of a percent of the U.S. population ever sees their alma mater in person win a national championship of this caliber. So, it's always awesome. This was incredible to do it against Alabama, of all teams, to do it in a rematch with seemingly everyone pulling for us. We felt like America's team just because we're playing Alabama, not because Clemson's, the best and everyone loves us. Anyway, people were when Renfro made the catch, people just were crying and hugging the place. But by the time I looked up, I didn't even realize all the Alabama fans were gone, and we didn't even realize they were leaving because we were just so locked in to celebrating and hugging and crying and everything. It was one of the most happy moments I've ever seen and been a part of from any crowd in really any venue.
When you hear somebody like Dabo Swinney, who's as invested into this team, and really he made mention after the game of all the teams that he's coached at Clemson and how they all can have a slice of this championship, you get a feel for what, and we hear all the bad things in regards to the student athlete, and we hear the bad things in regards to the coaches as being selfish and obviously wanting to build a program for themselves and for their own glory and for the power of the money. But you get a real feel for it's not just winning a game or winning a championship in football. It's that when people come together and they truly work hard, they do the right things, they pull together, and we could say it, they love each other, and great things can be accomplished. And then when you meet the odds and you're able to overcome those odds and accomplish something great, that there's just an overwhelming sense of joy, of togetherness, and accomplishment.
Yeah, I wrote about this a little bit in an article before right when the playoffs were starting. It's just, first of all, it's big because Clemson hasn't won in, like I said, 34 years or 35 years now. So that's a huge part of it. But when Ben Boulware at the end of the game, when he went up on the podium, he was the defensive player of the game and defensive player in the conference. When he started speaking, talking about how much it meant and we're so proud to bring it home. And then he mentioned Stephon Anthony and Taj Boyd and Sammy Watkins and all the past guys over the 8 years that Dabo's been there. And it's been such a slow build, and how all of those guys are part of this championship. They may not be on the team now, but without them, we don't have this. Without Stephon Anthony, without Taj Boyd, there's no way Clemson is here. They're all part of what's been a slow, steady building process under Dabo Swinney. And in an era where most championships are won by either Nick Saban or a new coach who comes in and really wins with somebody else's players. This is pretty unique to have a guy come into a program that's, struggling to win mid-level bowl games and slowly over nearly a decade build them up to play in a national championship and then come back, win a national championship. You don't see that anymore. And I think it's good for the sport. To be frank, I think it's great when you see longevity and dedication, and coaches aren't moving around, they're not moving for money. And he loves Clemson. Clemson loves him. And he's part of our brand now. I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, not a whole lot of coaches out there defeating Urban Meyer and Nick Saban back-to-back, or defeating the likes of Ohio State and Alabama in a playoff scenario back-to-back. And we just heard so many facts and figures of the Dabo Swinney success at Clemson and it being unprecedented, defeating just this season. I'm sure you heard the statistic. I think the last 7 or 8 college football national champions just this season. Alabama, of course, and multiple times, Ohio State, Auburn, and Florida State, of course. It's just remarkable where the program has reached in regards to heights. But unlike the Ohio State game, where after less than a quarter, you felt pretty good about where the team stood, and unless you blew things or things changed dramatically, that you had the better team on the field. This one didn't get off to such a good start because of Alabama's great talent and reputation. They were kind of slinging around Deshaun Watson like a rag doll at 14-0 and having their way on the ground against your defense. It didn't start off to be such a good feeling.
No, the first quarter and frankly the first half was not enjoyable at all to be there. They're incredibly talented, and we knew they were. I picked Clemson to win, and I did it because I thought our quarterback advantage was so big it could overcome the talent they had, particularly on defense. And in the first quarter, Watson didn't play well. He was missing throws. He was missing open players who he didn't see. There was one where Leggett had run a post route, looked open. He forced it to Mike Williams. Balls were getting – they looked like a clearly better team. And when we fell down 14-0, we were in danger territory of being blown out. If they go up 21-0, things are looking bad. ESPN has the likelihood to win the game, a trend line as it goes. And at one point, Alabama's percentage was up to 89%. Things seemed doomed. So to come back from that and battle and not give up was unbelievable. And then to be down, I believe it was 24-14 in the fourth, or entering the fourth, they were down double digits. Nick Saban was 97-0 in that scenario. We're the first team to beat Saban coming into the fourth quarter, trailing by 10. So it was definitely terrible early, but I think I was talking to a friend about this prior to the game. These type of games, they're almost not enjoyable to attend, but the last 10 minutes are some of the most fun moments that you could possibly imagine. And when you think back, it's one of the happiest moments, of your life. And it's funny how that works. But the final, 15 minutes real time, the final 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes of game time, and then the half hour after the game were just unbelievable euphoria. You can't describe. You got to be there.
Yeah, the final drive has been dissected so many ways, and obviously the last play and the controversy, if you're going to phrase it that way and take that kind of perspective. But let's go through the final drive because, of course, Alabama does score. They respond, but they score and leave Deshaun Watson with, I believe, 2:07 left on the clock. And, of course, he hits on some big pass plays. So I'm watching thinking, okay, obviously Clemson's in good shape. They get to about the 30-yard line after a big pass completion. I think the 26 or 28-yard line with like 50-some seconds left on the clock. And I went back after the game and looked at the play-by-play and saw where 33 seconds were wasted off the clock. And that's where I thought, what are they doing? Hopefully they're not setting up for a field goal thinking, let's play it safe, let's get the 3, because obviously your place kickers had some issues recently. And number 2, you're playing Alabama. You don't want to go to overtime. You got the hot hand. They're on their heels. And that's how it appeared because so much time was wasted. And for some strange reason, Clemson went from wasting time to being very efficient with very little time within the last 14 to 18 seconds on the clock. So if we get to that final play, just your thought about the play, the way Alabama was not able to defend it, and just some of the conversations that you've had concerning the Renfro touchdown.
Yeah, so to your point about the clock, everyone in my section, including myself, was screaming why most of the time you're not going to conserve. And in hindsight, we were right. They didn't conserve nearly the 33 seconds that these had burned off when they used one of those timeouts after a first down. They saved maybe 10 seconds there. Could have saved so much more time by using that timeout earlier. So Leggett eventually does make that catch for a first down that sets up the final stand there where it's 1st and goal on the 9. He had a huge drop on the previous drive following a missed call on the play before. So huge redemption for him. And then Renfro on that final play. So we had reserved one timeout there. Because we had that timeout, we had the option to run the ball with 6 seconds to go. If you don't get it, you call it timeout, or pass it. That forced Alabama to consider the run, which totally changed the defense. They played man with 2 guys on the right, and Artavis Scott, who is such a good all-around receiver, and in this year and to an extent last year, but really this year, has had a huge role in making big blocks because he's a very strong physical receiver. While guys like Renfro, Deion Kane, and others are making the catches, he doesn't always get the credit he deserves. He had a huge block on that big play. He came across, ran into his own guy, and then Renfro was able to make the game-winning catch. Gutsy call there, but if we don't have a timeout, Alabama might not be playing that cover zero. And so that was a huge part of it. The clock management was crazy, but having a timeout was huge. One other comment on that drive, Watson said at the beginning, right when he walked on the field and they scored, he smiled and said, "They left us too much time."
Yes, and despite not winning the Heisman Trophy the last 2 seasons, I certainly thought, even without this performance, which obviously doesn't count toward the Heisman Trophy, that despite the exploits of Lamar Jackson, mostly against marginal defenses, that this is the guy, this is the best quarterback in college football and the most dynamic player, and proved to be the difference, certainly in the national championship game, and was good enough almost to be a difference last year. He was that good to overcome the great Alabama team of 2015 as well. So we can go on and on about Deshaun Watson, and many people have. Is there anything else out there that's maybe not so obvious?
Well, I will say regarding Watson, the Heisman, it's a regular season award, and in the regular season, Lamar Jackson extremely deserving. Won't take that away from him. I do have an article coming out, which is one of the things that it argues we should give out the big awards, such as the Heisman, after bowl games. Not only would it make the awards more accurate, given the small sample size of a very short college football season, but it would add some value to the lesser bowls. So that's one thing. As for other commentary, I would say Saban coached a pretty good game. That final drive with the fake pass, he saved his trick play to the end. Hurts passes it out in the flats behind the line of scrimmage, and it was a double pass play that picked up a big chunk before Hurts broke it off. Guy's still probably the greatest coach of all time. I think at this point you got to start talking about Dabo Swinney, second, third, fourth. He's up there now. He's got the title. He's built a program. He didn't jump right in. I think he's an elite coach at this point.
Yeah, this doesn't do anything to tarnish Nick Saban's reputation. Although, the Joe Montana, the Michael Jordan, sterling reputation that goes along with making the championship and never losing it once you get there. But that's unrealistic. And he got within 1 second of winning another national championship. And I'm sure this program's going to be back again and again and again. So it's more about Dabo Swinney, yes, even though he's done the work and proven it against the top programs in other games, you need the national championship with the public to certify yourself as, okay, I'm in the club, and there's only a few of us that currently coach that can say, hey, I got a national championship ring. And of course, the program's in great shape to make a bid for future ones.
Yep, absolutely. Alabama and Ohio State are going to be phenomenal next year. Probably be favorites to get back to the playoff, but right now, next year's a long way off.
All right, Clemson national champion, first time since 1981, second in program history. And I certainly said it a number of times, as other commentators have on television. This program reached the elite status before Monday night. Monday night, of course, was validation and what everyone attributes to elite status, and that's winning it all and defeating the best. And Alabama certainly had that distinction before Monday night. Ryan Cantor from Shaking the Southland giving us a unique perspective right there from Tampa. As a Clemson alum, we couldn't do this, Ryan, without you, because I jump on here, and obviously I'm a huge football fan and cover this stuff day to day, but I give it the nuts and bolts. But to get your perspective definitely adds a ton. So thanks so much for jumping on.
Yeah, no problem. Go Tigers.